Welcome to Tech in the Car. This is the new Kia EV9 and this car is really important. Well, this is the new Kia Sorento for 2025. Now the big question is, should you get this or should you get something else? Let's talk stats of this car, but let's first of all start with the design, because the one thing you'll notice at the front here is these fantastically cool headlights. Now this is a new signature that all Kia models are going to have going forward, and you can see we've got this really interesting design with stacked lights on top of each other. So you can see these same light designs in the Kia EV3, 4 and 5, and it's going to come forward through all of the line of Kia cars, and it's really distinctive. You will know that there's a Kia behind you if you're driving and there's one behind you. This is a big SUV and it's got 3 rows in it, but it's also a really good SUV, and I've really enjoyed my time with this car, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. Let's talk about the top 5 features of this car. Now the first thing that I really like is these new daytime running lights, and these are very much looking like they're from the same family as the EV9, which this is essentially the non-EV version of. I mean, this was around before the EV9, so I guess you could say the EV9 is the EV version of this, but they have the similar design at the front here. And then I love these stacked lights. I think they look really mean at the front. So that's my first thing, this new design at the front. The next thing I love is these wheels. Now, this might not seem like a big thing, but these are 19-inch wheels. You cannot get 19-inch wheels in the US. Weirdly, it comes with 18 inches at best. This car looks very sporty yet boxy, which is a bit hard to describe because you can't exactly imagine rolling a box down a hill. You don't play football with a box, but if you could play football with a box, then you'd have to be really strong because boxes don't roll. Anyway, whatever my point was there, this car looks fantastic. The boxy look really suits it, and it's a very unique look that this car has. It has all the latest safety technology as well. Let's talk trim and specs and everything else you need to know. So all of these models have a 99.8 kilowatt hour battery. There's an all-wheel drive version which has 378 horsepower, and there's also a rear-wheel drive version which has 200 horsepower, 350 and 700 Newton meters of torque respectively. And we also have our GT line, our GT Line S, and our Air trims. The Air starts at about 64,000, just under 65, going up to about 76,000 pounds in the UK. And you get a lot of car for your money, there's no doubt about that. The next thing I love about this car is the engine, or more precisely the fact that it is a hybrid, plug-in hybrid car. So we've got a 1.6 litre petrol engine, which they call the Smart Stream G on here. And it has 34 miles of electric only range, which means you can drive along in EV only mode and not use any petrol. And then when you need to recharge it, just plug it in and charge it. So just like other hybrids, it means you can drive it as an EV only car depending on the distances you're driving. And talking about technology, this car has automated lane change with the Highway Assistant 2. I guess 2 is better than Highway Assistant 1, but regardless, this can change lanes by itself on certain roads. Just indicate and it changes automatically. Pretty cool. Not many cars do that. We're starting to see it on all the newest Kias and also on the newest Hyundais and Genesis cars, but it's still quite a rare thing to see. Let's talk engines and powertrains. You've got diesel, which starts at 41,000, a petrol hybrid, which starts at 42,000, and the plug-in hybrid, which starts at 47,000. And depending on the trim you have, 2, 3, or 4, it will increase the price. This model behind me is a 4 trim plug-in hybrid, and it's about £55,000. So there's a lot of variation here. Interior equipment is very generous, but obviously everything that you want the most of is on this car here, the 4 trim. Otherwise, you're missing out on some things like the bigger screen for the driver side. I think personally they should all be the same size. You shouldn't be having a smaller screen, but that's what Kia are doing. However, the infotainment screen remains the same on all of them. In terms of efficiency, I think if you're looking at a value proposition for efficiency, then diesel is a way to go. However, if you're looking for the option to drive in electric only mode, then this plug-in hybrid is the best option with the best efficiency. Let's just talk about the powertrain on here. We've got a 1.6 litre petrol with 248 horsepower and about 357 Newton meters of torque. And in terms of efficiency, well, that depends on whether you drive in EV mode or hybrid mode or just in petrol mode. That changes depending on that, but it is a very efficient car, depending also on if you have the diesel that's got a bigger engine, it's a 2.2 litre engine, or petrols are all 1.6, but that's up to you to decide. The battery and electric part stays the same on the plug-in hybrid. It's a 13.8 kilowatt hour battery, which is good for 34 miles of WLTP electric only range. But the battery also works with the engine to supplement it when the battery level is too low for it to run on EV only mode as well. So you've got the best of both worlds with this hybrid. Let's talk size of this car. This comes as a 6 or 7 seater version, so with a back row or without a back row, which gives you more storage obviously for luggage, although you can put down that back row. This is 5,015 millimeters long in the 7-seat version, and just a tiny bit, smidge shorter, I am in Scotland after all, in your other version. So it's a very big car. Now this car has something which Tesla has made a big deal about in the last few days. The new Tesla Cybertruck, which is not a competitor to this because that is a pickup truck, is the first Tesla to have 800 volt architecture, which means it can charge at 350 kilowatt chargers. Now this car, just like all Kias for the last several years, have been able to do that because they're on that same 800 volt, and that means this car can do 10 to 80% of charge on that 350 kilowatt charger in 24 minutes. So haha Tesla, Kia beat you to it. Time you caught up with them with the charging. Well done, congratulations. And this car is really good at charging fast. Let's talk wheels. We've got 21-inch wheels front and back, and they've got this cool 4-spoke design, which is very interesting. You don't get many cars with 4-spoke wheel designs, but it pulls it off. It matches the design aesthetic, which is very, very athletic, yet sporty, even though this has got no curves in it. Here at the back of the EV9, we have this new rear design, which looks very, very sophisticated. Just like the front, it matches the same aesthetic, and we've got quite a sporty rear design, different color bumper at the bottom and below, and it says Kia on the back and EV9 down in the corner. And in terms of space, well, of course, we've got an electronic tailgate, which is what you would expect. We have 333 litres back here, which gives you lots of space to put whatever you want. And we can also put down the third row because, of course, there is a 6-seater and a 7-seater version of this car, which has either a third row or it doesn't have a third row. And you can put the back down like this, and then you get 888 litres, which is plenty of space. And then we also have a plug back here, which you can use to plug in your appliances and, you know, cook a meal outside, plug in a speaker, take this out and enjoy yourself. There's also a vehicle to load on the outside of this car, so you can plug an adapter into the charging port and charge other things like another electric car, for example, or even your house. So yes, you can power your house using the EV9. And what a cool feature that is. Let's talk about the design at the back of this car. We've got these cool N-shaped lights, which I like. We've got this silver aluminium finish, and then we've got the space in the rear of this car, which is a very substantial 809 litres of space with the rear row down. If you put the rear seats up, then it's 175 litres of space, which is a lot less. There is no space under this floor. There's a tiny little space there for the battery, but there's not really a lot there. But sitting in the back, you'll see, well, you see when I sit in the back, but there are cup holders, USB Type-Cs, and there's even its own climate control zone. So in the back, it's going to be pretty comfortable. And of course, you have your tonneau cover if you want to cover up what's in the back. So nice and spacious, and we do have, of course, the button to close it, and we also have an auto off button, which means it's not going to close on your head, which is quite a good thing. I doubt you're asking yourself how many cameras at the back of the Sorento, but the answer to that question is 2. There's one here and there's one here. Now one of those is for the 360-degree camera system and one is for the reversing camera system, but I'm guessing that when you swap between the two on the system, it uses both. That is the only thing that makes sense to me, although I don't think you can choose which is which. But let's check that out in a second when we get in the car. Let's talk about the charging now. So this can do either 3-pin charging, or it can do Type 2 AC charging up to 7.2 kilowatts. You can't use a CCS charging connector because it's not CCS, so it limits your choice of public chargers. And at home, you're only getting, I found, around 3 kilowatts to charge on that, even at maximum rate, and my charger does up to 7 kilowatts. That's enough to charge this in between 3 and 5 hours, and it's got a 13.8 kilowatt hour battery in the car, which, like I said, is good for the 34 miles of WLTP range. So it is really great, but there are some things to think about when you talk about a hybrid, a few limitations to consider with public charging. Not that you need it, it is a hybrid and you can just use the engine. Let's talk front. So first of all, there's no second latch on this, which makes it really, really easy to open. So on the GT Line and GT Line S, which is this car, we have 52 litres of front space, but on the Air we got 90 litres. So there's enough space to put your charging cables and everything down there. And actually, I really like how Kia have covered everything else in plastic at the front here. It makes it feel a lot more premium rather than some EV manufacturers are leaving it open. So I really like that. So great front space, nice to see it, but it's not like you're lacking space at the back anyway. So this is just a bonus. Here inside the Kia EV9, it's very comfortable. We've got a nice heated steering wheel. We also have a terrain mode, so you can actually drive this car into a special mode for snow, mud and sand, which is the first Kia I've ever seen that could do that. We've got these cool compartments here for the drinks. You can press them down. We've got a fantastic 360 camera system. It's just really spacious and comfortable, and we've got a brand new infotainment system as well in this car. One cool feature it has is you can use a fingerprint scanner to unlock your car. That's cool to have that in this Kia EV9. The front of the Sorento is where this car really takes off, because we've got two 12.3-inch displays here on the 4 trim. On the other trims, the smaller screen is there for the driver display, but the infotainment stays the same. And it's a very simple, easy to use system. We've got our multi-mode system here where I can tap this button here and I can change the buttons so they're either climate control or media infotainment controls. We've got our gear selector, mode selector here. Down here we have our drive modes where I can go from eco sport to smart mode. And then we've also got snow, mud and sand, so you can use this off-road. We've got our EV HEV button, so you can either choose to drive it straight on EV mode, which will go 34 miles on a full charge. And we've got our amazing 360-degree camera system, which works great. We've got a hill hold assist, so you can again use this off-road too. And I love this switch down here by my knees, which lets me change between cooled and heated seats. It's very simple to use, and it's really, really clever. You just tap it and it goes to 1, 2 or 3 on the heated or cooled, and then off. Really, really like that a lot. And then we've got our fingerprint sensor down here, which lets me change our mode using my fingerprint, which I've mentioned. We've got really nice steering wheel with all the controls on it. And you have really comfortable seats where you can manually adjust the side bit here. I'm doing it on the seat I've got here because I can't reach over there. But that will also do it automatically when you change to sport mode or you go over a certain speed. And these seats also will automatically turn on and stretch you if you've been driving for a long time, so your back feels a lot better, and it's got lumbar support built in too. We've got a 12-speaker Bose system on this trim, which is really, really good. And the interior materials feel decent for the price. They're soft plastic and some nice design features. And of course, we've got the lighting, the ambient lighting across this car. So really, really nice interior. We've also got wireless charging, and we've got the cool buttons here, which let you change between charging and using the data for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Wireless built in, of course, on here too. And we've got this massive panoramic sunroof, which lets in a lot of light and opens too, which makes the inside feel very, very airy. So a really nice interior, and it makes it a pleasure to drive. Let's talk packaging of this car. Because of the way EVs are, it means there's more space between the front and rear wheels, which means there's more space here. So despite this being a 7-seater, I've got a lot of space. I'm 1.78 m. We've got a panoramic roof at the front and at the back. It is divided in the middle, and it's very, very comfortable. And these seats are heated and cooled. There's separate climate control up above my head here, and the vents are surrounded by metal and feel very nice above my head, which means I'll definitely be able to stay warm or cool in the summer. Now on the 7-seat version like this, we have 2 rows. We've got a row behind, which I'm going to check out in a minute and describe to you what it's like. But on the 6-seat version, there are actually seats that can rotate and turn around, so it means you can face backwards and there's even more space. Let's check out the rear now and see how you get back there. Here in the 3rd row of the Kia EV9, I'm okay. It's a bit tight. You would expect that though, because there's no such thing as a 7-seater SUV which has got enough space for adults in the back that are over 6 feet. It's not going to happen. But we do have the luxuries back here. We have 2 cup holders, we have 2 USB Type-Cs, and we have these same metallic air vents above our heads. And the seats are very, very comfortable, despite the fact that I may not have an awful lot of space back here. I can fit, as you can see behind this seat, although I have basically no knee room, but I do have plenty of headroom, there's no doubt about that. And they are very comfortable, and they are also very, very, very nice to look at. So you're sitting in the back here and you're thinking, oh, the back is a bit Right, what can I do about it? Well, there's a button back here on both sides, you can see it, and it will allow me to adjust the position of the backrest so I can recline it or move it forward, which is pretty nice as well. And then to get out, press a button on top and the seat moves forward, and you can get out, of course, as long as there's nobody in front of you. The back of this car is why you buy one of these cars. It's a 7-seater and you want to have enough space for you and 7 people in this car. So let's look at the space in the second row. So first of all, I'm 1.78 meters. I've got a lot of space above my head. I've got a lot of space between my knees. This is a driving position. We've got a cup holder here. We've got heated seats. We've got a blind too if you want to block out the sunlight, which I don't want to. We've got a massive glass opening panoramic sunroof, which provides a lot of light, which makes it feel very spacious. We've got some netting here, and we've got, of course, a charger down there, cigarette charger. No USBs down there, but there are 2 USB-Cs in the side of the seats here. And being as this is one of these cars, you can press the button on the seat to move it forwards and backwards and adjust its position. Very, very handy. And then we also have space here where you can put your cups in the cup holders there. How about the back row? Let's jump back there and test it out. Let's test out that third row to see how it works. So we've got electric sliding seats here which go back. Now I've pulled these seats down in front because I want you to be able to see me. That's kind of important. But what is it like back here? Well, I fit, obviously. This was in the seated position before. I've still got a lot of knee room, although my knees are very, very high. I can obviously adjust the height of the headrest back here as well. I do have, like I said, a space here for drinks. I've got my own climate control, rear AC, and I've got a 12 volt and I've got 2 USBs. Welcome to the Scottish Highlands. I'm on my way to a castle right on the other side. We got Loch Ness alongside us, or it was alongside us a second ago, and we're just enjoying driving this car. This is a big car. This is a 7-seater SUV. There's no denying its length. It's 5 meters long. This is a big car, but it doesn't handle like a big car. It handles like a much, much smaller car. It handles more like an Audi Q2 than like an Audi Q8. Really, really impressive to feel the way the steering turns into the corners. Yeah, it's not sports steering. We're not driving a Porsche, but it's still really, really capable in these corners, especially in sport mode that I'm in now. You've got the feedback, you've got the feeling. Just very impressed with it, honestly. And then, of course, we've got the capability. It's 0 to 60, it's speed, it's power. Whether it's the all-wheel drive version, which this is, or the rear-wheel drive version, whether you've got 200 horsepower or 378 horsepower, whether it's 300 Newton meters or 700 Newton meters, like in this car, you never feel like you're lacking for power. And that instant torque from that electric motor is fantastic. It really lets you get away fast from the lights. It lets you get past traffic, and it makes this car, which is a big car, feel smaller. It shrinks around you. That's the biggest compliment I can have for this SUV, is I don't feel like I'm in an SUV. I feel like I'm in a car with a very big bonnet and a car with a lot behind me. But the only time I notice that this is a big vehicle, which is 5 meters long, is when I'm reversing into a parking space, and then I need to be careful with the parking. Other than that, I might as well just be driving a small, nimble car. I'm really impressed. And we should also talk about the range here. This car seems very, very capable. We have between 313 to 350 miles WLTP range, and it seems to be living up to that pretty well. I've driven about 50 miles so far today, and my range has dropped 50 miles, which means it's pretty much bang on for what you actually get. So I trust this. So it means it's got a really big battery. It's a 99.8 kilowatt hour battery. So it's a big, big battery. But it really is doing the job that you want it to, and going really, really well with good range, good performance, good handling. I'm very impressed with this Kia. Another great Kia. Let's test the 0 to 60 time now using the V-Bucks Performance Pro Touch. Big thank you to them. Let's check the 0 to 60 time in the EV9. So it's a big car, 380 horsepower. Let's go. And that's got quite some acceleration. That's pretty impressive. We're gonna hit 60, 4.87 seconds. Let's start off talking about EV only mode, because we have 34 miles of it here. We've got our EV HEV button. If I tap it, it goes automatic, hybrid, or electric mode. We're in electric only mode now. I've got these paddles here, which will let me do our regen braking. Right now, it doesn't let me do it because the battery is 99% charged. But when the battery drops down lower, it will let me do it. How does it respond as an EV? It feels pretty fast, pretty responsive. Remember, in total, this car has around 250 horsepower and 367 Newton meters of torque. So it's not a slow car. 250 horsepower is pretty good for any car. And I think it's a sweet spot where you get really good performance and efficiency in an EV. I think less than that, maybe you struggle to overtake. This has got more than enough in this top trim 4 model plug-in hybrid. One thing that really impresses me in this car is the suspension. There are a lot of big holes in the road here in England. That's very, very common. And yet I'm going over them like they're not there. I'm not feeling them. It doesn't matter. So the suspension on this car is really, really good. And in terms of steering, if we put it into sport mode, so we get a bit more power and a bit more urgency with the accelerator, then what you get is you get a car which actually feels, for a big SUV, quite sporty. Don't get me wrong, it's not a sports car, but the suspension means most of the bumps in the road, you don't feel them. And on top of that, we have this really, really, I think, quite good steering, where if you turn from side to side, the car responds very, very well. So I'm very impressed with that. Now, if we go into smart mode, it's now going to choose to use either hybrid or automatic, but you can see what's going on in the car by looking at this really interesting graphic, which is under the settings. I can see I'm still at 99% battery, still have an EV range of 34 miles, and I can see whether the power is going from the battery to the motors or from the engine to the motors. So I've got a lot of flexibility there, and when I press the brake, it sends the power back to the motors at the back. When I press the accelerator, it sends it to the front. I'm obviously not going fast enough right now, or the battery level is so high that it doesn't feel the need to use the hybrid mode and to kick on the engine. If I put my foot down, then you can see the engine turns on and the power goes from both the battery and the electric motor to the front of the car. So we've got the best of both, and it works very well. This car has 248 horsepower, 367 Newton meters of torque, 8.8 seconds Kia say to 60. Let's test it out now. 1, 2, 3. We're in sport mode. We're going. Wow, it gave me a bit of a kick going. There's no doubt about that. Are we going to get there? 40, 50, 7.55 seconds. So it didn't hit 7.55 seconds. That's faster than the 8.8 seconds Kia says to 60. So well done. You did it quicker than you were meant to. That's brilliant. The Kia EV9 and the Sorento are both really keepable vehicles. They're both 7-seater vehicles, and they really are a huge competition for each other. Both are excellent. Both have amazing features. Both are a very similar size, and both offer you something really interesting. The EV9 is more expensive, but it's also full EV, and it's won multiple awards. Yet the Sorento impresses in its ride, its technology, its handling, and its looks, which may or may not be better than the EV9 depending on what you think. So which one should you go for? I think it just simply comes down to, do you want an EV or not? Thanks for watching.